The crowd roared with cruel laughter as 3 starving German shepherds trembled in a rusted cage. To everyone else, they were worthless. But one man saw something different. "I will take them all," he said, in that moment changed everything and left everyone shocked. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The sun blazed mercilessly over the dusty auction yard, casting long shadows across weathered wooden stalls. The air was thick with the shouts of men, their voices rough, trading animals like sacks of grain. Iron cages rattled in the heat, their bars streaked with rust and neglect. Inside one, 3 German shepherds huddled together, their ribs sharp beneath patchy fur. Their eyes, once bright, now glistened with despair. They pressed against each other, trembling as the noise of the crowd roared around them. The auctioneer's booming voice cut through the chaos, calling bids for cattle, then horses. But when he gestured toward the cage of dogs, the laughter came. To the crowd, they weren't companions, protectors, or lives worth saving. They were nothing more than starving animals, fodder for the highest bidder. Through the haze of dust and noise, a figure appeared at the edge of the auction yard. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with a weathered face carved by years under the sun. His boots struck the ground with a steady rhythm, each step measured, deliberate. The brim of his hat shadowed his eyes, but there was no mistaking the intensity behind them. Unlike the others, he didn't come for profit. He wasn't here to bargain or boast. He stood silently, arms crossed, surveying the spectacle before him. His gaze drifted past the horses, past the cattle, and locked onto the trembling cage of German shepherds. Something in his expression shifted, hard edges softening into quiet resolve. The crowd paid him little attention, dismissing him as another drifter. Yet the dogs noticed. Their ears twitched, their weary eyes following his every move. To them, he wasn't just another stranger. He carried an aura that cut through the cruelty around them, a presence that spoke of protection and strength. Where others saw useless, starving animals, the cowboy saw survivors. And in that moment, as the auctioneer prepared to start the bidding, he made a silent promise. These dogs would not be left behind. Inside the cage, the world felt small and suffocating. The 3 German shepherds pressed against each other, their bodies frail from weeks of hunger. Every clang of metal, every cheer of the crowd sent shivers down their spines. To them, the auction wasn't a marketplace. It was a prison where hope came to die. They remembered days when they ran free, when grass brushed against their paws, and the sun felt warm instead of cruel. But those memories were fading, swallowed by the gnawing ache in their stomachs and the sting of thirst in their throats. All they had now was fear and each other. Then, through the blur of noise and dust, they saw him, the cowboy. He didn't jeer, didn't laugh. He simply watched, steady and calm. For the first time in forever, the dogs felt something stir. Inside them, not fear, not pain, but the faint flicker of hope. The auctioneer's gavel struck the podium with a sharp crack, silencing the crowd for a moment. "Next lot," he bellowed, pointing toward the cage of trembling dogs. 3 German shepherds. Thin, weak, not much use. Laughter rippled through the yard, harsh and cruel. Men shouted half-hearted bids, amounts so low they mocked the value of a life. $5, someone called. 10 for all 3. Another jeered, spitting into the dirt. Not worth the feed. A third voice rang out, sending the crowd into a chorus of chuckles. The cowboy stood silent, unmoving, his eyes locked on the cage. Each word from the crowd carved deeper into him. Yet he waited, letting their cruelty show itself fully. The dogs shrank back, ears flat, as if they understood they were being bartered away like broken tools. Then, just as the auctioneer raised his hand for the final call, the cowboy's voice cut through the noise. Calm, steady, but thunderous in its weight. "I'll take them all." The yard went still. Heads turned. Whispers spread like wildfire. In a place where compassion was scarce, those 5 words landed heavier than any price shouted that day. The silence after his words was deafening. Then came the sneers. "You're out of your mind, cowboy." One man laughed, tipping his hat mockingly. "Ain't worth the trouble." Another spat, shaking his head. "Those mutts won't last a week." Better to let him go. The crowd nodded in agreement, their voices dripping with scorn. But the cowboy didn't flinch. His eyes stayed fixed on the dogs, calm and unyielding. When he finally spoke, his voice was low but carried a weight that silenced the jeers. Because they deserve better. Every life does. The auctioneer hesitated, tapping his gavel against the podium. He looked at the cowboy, then at the restless crowd, unsure. But no other bids came. The room, once full of mocking laughter, had fallen still. With a heavy slam of the gavel, the deal was sealed. The dogs were his. The cowboy stepped forward, his boots crunching over gravel as the auctioneer handed him the keys. All eyes followed him, some filled with ridicule, others with curiosity. But he paid no attention. His focus was on the cage, on the three trembling souls inside who had no idea their fate had just changed forever. He knelt down slowly, lowering himself to their level. The dogs shrank back at first, pressing against the rusted bars. His voice, deep but gentle, cut through the chaos around them. "Easy now," he whispered, almost like a prayer. "You're safe." The key turned with a metallic click, and the door creaked open. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then, cautiously, one of the shepherds stepped forward, nose twitching, eyes uncertain. The cowboy extended his hand, palm open, patient as stone. Moments passed like eternity, until a rough tongue brushed against his hand. The crowd gasped, but the cowboy only smiled faintly. One by one, the others followed, tails wagging weakly, hope flickering back to life. In that fragile moment, the bond was sealed. They weren't property anymore. They were his responsibility, his family. The cowboy led the dogs toward his old wagon, its wooden frame creaking as the wheels shifted in the dirt. The shepherds followed hesitantly at first, still unsure if freedom was truly theirs. But with every step, their pace grew steadier, their heads lifting from the weight of despair. He helped them onto the wagon, spreading a worn blanket so their frail bodies could rest. The dogs curled against each other, but this time it wasn't from fear, it was from comfort. Their ribs still showed, their fur still ragged, but their eyes carried something new. As the cowboy climbed onto the driver's seat and tugged the reins, the wagon rolled away from the noise, the cruelty, the laughter of the auction yard. Behind them, dust rose into the evening air. Ahead, the horizon glowed with a setting sun, a promise of second chances and a life worth living. That night, the dogs lay beside a crackling fire, their bellies full for the first time in weeks. The cowboy sat nearby, hat tipped low, watching as their breathing slowed into peaceful sleep. One of the shepherds shifted closer, resting its head on his boot. He didn't move, he simply let it be. In the stillness, under a sky full of stars, a truth settled over him. Sometimes heroes don't wear badges or shine in glory. Sometimes they wear dusty boots, and sometimes angels come with fur. If this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe for more.